Many years later came something called the Mellotron, which became the forerunner of a synthesizer, a keyboard, right? They were up in arms. They banned them on records. Of course, we got Brian his Mellotron because we had one in the office, right? And we were publishing the Beach Boys music, and that's just a whole story. I mean, we took this record of the Beach Boys. Which one was it? The first one, Help Me Rhonda. And I knew a guy that could fix the charts, so I bung him £100, and it goes in the charts. And there was a lovely guy running EMI, but he had a terrible stutter. And let me tell you, when he called me, he was so terrified. It was a stutter. He said, "Tony, what have you done?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The Beach Boys record's in the charts, and we haven't even manufactured." I said, "Roy, get it in next week." "Oh, no problem." Of course, then the following Monday came, and here comes Roy. Oh, what does he want? He said, "I didn't tell you to keep it. What are you doing?" He said, "We can't have stock till the end of this week. It'll be..." I said, "Roy, you're going to pay for this." Because by now they'd gone from 29 to 27. So the next week I paid for it to go up to 25. And then suddenly radio takes onto it. And they start playing "Since She Put Me Down," and the record takes off. Sets it up for the next one, which EMI now claim all the credit for, right? Because we made them pre-sell it, and it went in at number 3 and went to number 1, and it was California Girls, and it was all Beach Boys. And many, many years later, Andrew Oldham and I are in the Ivy on the Shore restaurant, and somebody's arranged for us to meet Brian Wilson, who comes at that time with his minder I think it was a state minder to keep the previous psychiatrist away. And he's sitting next to me. He says, "What did I make you do?" I said, "Well, one year you made me walk across the sandpit." Oh, he said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Another year you had the rope across the sandpit." He said, did I?" I said, "Yeah, but the music you played me was worth listening to, right?" He said, "What else did I do to you?" I said, "The third year in a row," and I was getting a bit pissed off about coming up to your house because I knew it was going to be painful because I was making out, I wasn't doing drugs. And he was just taking it, snorting it like crazy. And I said, "You had the igloo with the piano, but you had to walk across the sandpit to get into the tent." He said, "Oh no."
What was the sandpit?
He had a sandpit in his living room because he liked to take his shoes off and put his feet in the sand when he was stoned out of his boogaloo. And there is brain damage with Brian, but he's such a lovely, kind person. And I said to him, "You went to the edge." He said, No, I went further. I had somebody hold my ankles while I looked over the edge. Yeah. And that's, basically what Eric Clapton did. He got to the edge, somebody held his ankles, shook him, and he said, "Pull me back." Other people go to the edge and, "Oh, fuck it, let's go." Oh, they go, "Let's go," and they're gone.
You're both incredibly talented as well, let's be.
But you notice with Brian, right, if you talk about music or sex, he can answer straight away. Anything else, there's like a time delay on it. Because he said to me at the time, "Okay, what's your favourite piece of mine?" I said, "Oh, that's easy." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Linda." He said, "You know the record?" I said, "Oh, she played it to me." He said, "Oh, I do fancy her, but she won't shag me." I said, "Thank goodness." He said, "What?" I said, "Drinking margaritas all day." He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "It is my favourite." He said, 7 takes. I said, "Didn't you do one run through?" He said, "No, they just played it to me, and I did the 7 different parts of the harmony, take each." That's how good the one ear is. It's music, absolutely blinding if you can remember it. I had to endure the father. He'd take the eye out, bounce it on the table, trying to shock me, and nothing was going to shock me because we had their publishing, and I didn't, I'll blow raspberries. And he said, "Here's the acetate of Pet Sounds." Andrew always thinks Lou Adler gave it to him, but he didn't. I got it because I called up Andrew and I played it to Andrew. And he's in LA. We're all in LA. He said, "Let's go up to Lou's." I played it to Lou's, going, And then we flew to New York, where Mick and Keith were, and they turn up with John and Paul. Well, they're all tripping, and I'm trying to make out I'm Mr. Clean. I was quite stoned at the time. And we play it. And we played it all night long, and then they were catching some flight to somewhere else in the morning, and we caught the day flight back to London and took the acetate. They turn up 2 days later in London, come round to Ivor Court and said, can you play it again? Well, we played it again. They left them there playing it for about 6 hours. And they all got hung up on the dog at the end going, woof, 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 woof. And Brian said to me many years later, he said, only people that were stoned listening to that would have got the dog. So Brian Wilson, we should touch on and come back to, because he was a very big influence from the West Coast. Not necessarily in fashion, but in the way you recorded and the way you wrote music. And in very simple, with Surfing Safari, he took the Chuck Berry 3-chord basic how to write a pop song, wrote a new lyric over it, sells 1 million copies. Chuck Berry's then told by Leonard Chess, yeah, boy, they've nicked your song. Fucking white people. But they sued and they settled before it went to court. He got all the money.
Every day is